Ahoy, you salty sailors. Time to raise anchor and set sail for your best scrawny life. Arrgh. So you will recall in the last episode we broke down a large silver carp. And here we're just going to continue with that process. We're trimming up some of that fatty belly meat. Now, when I was fishing, I did also get a bigmouth buffalo. This is a native fish, but it's not nearly as good quality of an eating fish as the silver carp. It's the bone structure is different, and it has a stronger smell, and it's just basically the meat has a soft texture. It's a lower quality fish all around. So we are going to use it, of course, but we're primarily going to use it for making soup stock. So we'll just break down the fillets here and the bones, and those will be used in soup stock. We'll pull the gills out of the head, and that can be used for soup too. Here's the silver carp head, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to pull the gills out. Basically, the idea is just to remove as much blood as possible. And, we can rinse it and go through and begin to heat it up, but then go through a couple water changes, to get rid of as much blood as we can. Now, in the previous episode, I mentioned that the silver carp does not really have a stomach. And here you can see the head, the detail of what's inside the head. The gill rakers fit inside these collagen, these big collagen structures. That funnels back into this little gizzard-like organ. And you can see there's a bony plate there, and there's some other little bones that correspond to that plate, but they're not teeth, they don't chew with it or anything. They simply slide a little bit, and it's used for grinding. So a silver carp and a big head carp cannot swallow anything. They can only drink. There isn't a throat that opens up to take something in. They can only take in liquids, pass it through that gizzard, grind up the plankton and algae in it, and then it's immediately into their lung. So all together, all rinsed off, our soup stock is going to be made up of all that. So let's start rinsing some rice, and we're going to chop up some of our fatty belly, and that will basically, as the rice is steaming in the rice cooker, that it will basically dissolve right into the rice, and it's really good that way. We'll add a little Cajun seasoning to help spice it up. Alright, so you'll remember in the previous episode, we did some boneless strips, and then we also did some bone-in strips. So here we're going to prepare the bone-in strips, and we're going to do a dry, wet, dry batter, and then shallow fry them. So here's our strips. Into the dry, into the wet, back to the dry, and then into the oil. Now here's what I was talking about in that previous episode. Once they're cooked, just simply take a piece, break it open. The meat is no longer attached to the bone, so it'll just slide right off. You'll see the piece in my right hand doesn't have any bones in it. I can just go ahead and eat that. And then the one in my left hand has like 2 or 3 bones in it. It's real easy just to pull those right out, and then I've got another piece to eat. So, super simple, very, very little waste. So that's what we're looking at. That's what it looks like when you pop it in half. There's our rice. Okay, so now you'll recall that stock pot we were making a minute ago. This is the next day. So we're going to use some of that stock to make a gumbo, silver carp gumbo. So we'll begin by chopping up some Louisiana mirepoix, and that is, of course, celery, green pepper, and onions. And once that is chopped up, we will also process a little bit of garlic. And we couldn't find fresh okra, so we will have the frozen okra. When I'm dealing with the frozen okra, I'm going to add it with my first round of mirepoix to the roux. And that will kind of cook down a little of that sliminess, the mucilage that the okra has. And we'll get a little fatty belly and a few of the other boneless fish pieces ready. So a roux consists of equal amounts fat and starch. So we're putting in some cooking oil and then a roughly equal amount of all-purpose flour. And we're going to cook that, and it goes through several color stages. There's the blonde roux, which you could use to make like a bechamel sauce. But in this case, we're going to go all the way to the brick stage, a dark reddish brown color. And at that point, we will add some of the Cajun mirepoix, and a little bit of garlic, and also some of the okra. And then we're going to proceed. We're going to continue to cook that dry, and we're actually wanting to get kind of a chocolate color. This is just going to slow down the roux a little bit, and also get a little browning on our aromatics to develop some flavor on them. But basically, we're slowing down that roux at this point. But we're going to try to get as close as we can to a chocolate brown. And once we've hit that, we'll put in our stock. And you'll see here that the stock's been in the fridge overnight, so it has actually congealed. A lot of collagen in those silver carp heads. The stock has Cajun seasoning in it as well. Once that's up to a boil, we'll add a second round of garlic, Cajun mirepoix, and our fish. So here's some leftover rice. We're going to put that in the bowl. If you add the rice to the gumbo, it will absorb all the liquid. So there we have it. There's our gumbo, silver carp gumbo. It's pretty good. I guess I'll give that an 8 out of 10. So now, can you make burgers out of fish eggs? The eggs, they are a solid mass of protein that has no bones. So just think about that. It's almost an ideal protein. There's no fat, no bones in it. The thing is, it is kind of dry. Like I said, there's no fat. If you took a chicken egg and just hard boiled it for like 10 minutes, and you just took the yolk out and bit into it, you know how that would be kind of dry. It's dry like that. It doesn't really have any kind of juiciness at all. So I'm going to put in a little bit of flour just to hold it together, and we'll stir that up, pop it in some oil, and fry up a little patty here. In the meantime, we'll toast some buns. Since it has this dryness, we're going to try to just sauce it up as much as we can to give it some juiciness. So we'll see how that turns out. Looks pretty good. Took a bite, and I really can't give it much more than, say, a 5 out of 10. That dryness still comes through. The flavor is good, but the texture is still pretty dry, even with the amount of sauce we put in there. So I think perhaps I could have just done without the flour. And because the eggs were not developed enough in this fish to be individually separated. So there really wasn't a need to hold the mass together. I think maybe it would have done okay on its own without any flour. So, well, you can't win them all. But it wasn't awful, I'll give it a 5 out of 10. So this one has horseradish sauce on the bottom. Got our patty, onion, spinach, ketchup on the top bun with pickles. And of course we had the Cajun two-step in the patty on this one. So we'll see what that's like. That's the best one so far.